rumble now or at the end?
I think at the
Hi.
end.
We'll start with hi.
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 This is DTLT today.
From the epicenter of the fault line of the earthquake. Yes, we were there.
We're
We
talking
live to tell.
all
Right here.
earthquakes all the time.
Anybody from California watches this could be like, what a bunch of bullshit.
Well, and that's funny that you say that.
They
That was one of the
legalized
things.
marijuana.
That was one
They
of the
don't
things
know
that I
what's
thought of
going
is
on.
that people are laughing at East Coasters right now, especially those in Virginia who thought this was a big deal, and there was the 24-hour news coverage, and
But
Hey,
for
it
us,
was
it
a
is a
big
big
deal.
deal.
It was
when
a
you-
big deal
It's
for
a big
Virginia.
deal, and when you go through it the first time, I'm sure everyone who went through an earthquake that was around 6.0,
Well,
which ours was.
Well, I did.
And let's be clear, for everything on Twitter that's serious, there's going to be another
Right.
half of people who are going to find some
Yeah.
ironic way to comment on
Well, there
it.
was that
Oh,
great
well,
picture
Oh,
of-
jeez. I mean, oh, yeah.
yeah,
there was a great picture of the earthquake damage, which was a patio chair,
Yeah,
and then
one
one
chair was
fell
tipped
over.
That was
It
a
was
classic. And
awesome.
did Darcy take that and
Oh yeah,
do the,
Darcy did a really.
He did it said
We'll never
823
forget.
we'll never forget with the eagle.
The eagle with the tear. The eagle with the tear in his eye.
And the patio chair,
Never
That's
forget.
awesome.
which was harsh,
Okay,
I
but
have to say.
That said, I was in '94 on Martin Luther King Day, the Northridge quake, which was 6 and change. I mean, that was a serial quake. The radio was on my bed, fell on my head. Our apartment building was shaking. I was living with my girlfriend at the time. The freaking the streets broke up. I mean, that was serious in LA. I was right in
Absolutely.
the heart of LA. This was like it in terms of the actual blast.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, shake. This whole building was shake, 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 and bake.
Right, and it all depends on the type of ground that you're on. And in that situation, there was a whole bunch of kind of fluid stuff that stuff broke and roads, moved and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
In this area, we have very old geology and all that stuff. The reason it shook a lot, but it also traveled far distances, and that's why places like Boston and Toronto and,
Yeah.
and Ohio felt it. And I guess it went down as far south as Georgia.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Um,
So
Mar-
it was a big deal. It scared the hell out of us. I
And
mean,
Martha,
maybe-
you had some real damage.
I did.
Unlike us, who were just
I actually
talking
had
about,
Right.
significant
some
damage
things getting
at my
knocked
home.
over a patio chair, but you
I
had a
walked-
real loss there.
I did. I walked in my house yesterday and
we-
immediately
I've got
smelled
I've got a
we can
picture
show
for
you that damage.
something terrible.
Yeah.
I thought a balsamic vinegar bottle had maybe broken, but no. We have probably about 24 bottles of red wine that we keep on top of the bookcase in my husband's office, and all but 3 of them had fallen, and
All but
7
3.
broke.
But you said it missed your vinyl, which we see in the
It did
background
miss the
there.
vinyl. It missed the computer. It missed the printer. It missed the camera bag, which was on the floor there. But
Wow.
I had a puddle of red wine from one side of the room to the other, littered with broken glass.
Wow.
So, and it was like a crime scene because it splattered on the walls. It looked like blood. It was harsh.
So here's the crazy thing. I mean, that is hardcore to lose wine, but the
Yeah,
other
right.
thing
It's
is,
really
I
hardcore.
mean, but the other thing is,
For Martha, it's a big deal.
in Japan,
Sympathize.
Hey!
we had that major earthquake and we had the nuclear reactors. Well, we have 2 nuclear reactors
Yeah, that
right down
was
the block
a little
from us.
scary. Yeah.
Right. Well,
Lake
Right
Anna
at the
north
epicenter.
and south.
and Lake Anna is closer to the epicenter
Very
than
close,
we
yeah.
are. Can you put up that picture
Yeah.
of kind of where things are located?
Yeah.
So we're just kind of to the northeast of the epicenter, which is in a place called Mineral, and it's actually Mineral's a little bit outside of where the actual epicenter was. But so this is kind of triangulated Fredericksburg, Charlottesville, and Richmond, and in the middle of all that is where the epicenter was.
Yeah.
And those nuclear power plants are in the same county,
Yep,
in Louise County.
Louisa. Yep.
And I was driving home thinking that I hadn't heard anything about it, but then right then on the news they reported that they had
A trip.
shut down.
Yep. They
It
automatically
tripped and
shut
they
down and
but we haven't heard anything since then. So
Yeah, you never know.
They haven't had any further
Yeah.
reports, but
Yeah.
from the beginning they said that I think they had found no damage so far.
Yeah.
So
What was trippy for me is that my wife was actually, Antonella was talking about what if what happened in Japan happened here because she's freaked out by the nuclear reactors.
Mhm.
And then we have this earthquake. And so when she came home and I met her at home and everyone was safe, thank God, she was talking like, this is freaking me out. Like this nuclear reactor, kind of toxic Avenger meets Virginia. I mean, I kind of
I
like it
think-
because it's a great scenario for like other things.
would
but
be a great story for DS-106.
I do
but
think that.
I
you're doing the live report, by the way.
I
Yeah.
think
Okay.
Anand actually tweeted at one point yesterday, Anand Rao, a professor here at Mary Washington, that the news coverage yesterday said that reactor was built to withstand 5.9 to 6.1.
That's right. Yeah, I
so
saw
we were
that.
right on.
Right
Hmm.
there,
I mean, granted, every 10th is a rather significant.
Right.
Yeah.
And you'd hope there's
jump.
a little bit of margin for error there.
You
Where
would
it's like, we
hope.
built it for 5.9. Well, maybe they built it for a little bit more
Yeah,
than
but
what
but
they
that is
actually...
it is scary to think that
Yeah.
that could happen in Virginia, because
Yeah.
I never think about.
And I'm still, I'm
Yeah.
still not sure when the last earthquake of that size was. I've
They
seen
said
a
it
couple
was
of different dates.
1895.
1875 is what the U.S. Geological Survey site says.
But that was before they had the equipment
Right,
to
and they-
measure.
right.
It's all based
That's
on
the last
Exactly.
recorded one, and even
reports.
that's
Yeah.
questionable about how
Yeah.
accurate
Exactly.
it might have been.
They base it on what kind of damage and what kind of things they
Now,
experienced at the time.
I am, as you know, married to a professional
I know.
You are.
in this field,
Sure.
a geologist.
I'm just an
Who
amateur. I was a
immediately rushed
geology
home to
major.
find
I
out how
have
you
no.
were
s-
doing.
Right.
I know nothing, but he did tell me that those older ratings are actually fairly accurate. That they've gotten pretty good at judging
Yeah.
based on the reported damage.
Wow.
But in typical professional fashion, I was calling him all afternoon, trying to find him. He teaches at a
To get his
community
opinion.
college up the street. Yeah, right. And he didn't show, and finally at 4:30 he waltzed in the door. He hadn't checked his voicemail. He didn't have his cell phone on him, of course. And he's just gone back to work. And
work.
I was freaking out, and he said, "What's the big deal?" So
It was just an earthquake.
it was
This is my
just, it was
job.
only an earthquake.
Well, let's talk a little bit about where we were and what happened, because we were all together
We were.
and we were all in
Right
this
here.
room.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like we really all bonded. Like before, I've always felt like we're not like friends or anything. We don't
No,
really.
we don't really like
We don't
each
hang
We
other.
don't like each other.
I'm impressed by
I feel
them
like
because they all seem to know what to do during an earthquake, and so I see them running for the door. And
Why? No, wait. Why the plural?
Huh?
Who knows what to do?
Yeah,
during
who
an
knew what?
earthquake?
Because I
Martha.
did. I got in that doorway
hell
before
outta
you,
here.
Groom.
Who? Get
I
outta
was
here.
in that. I was pulling you in that
That
doorway.
is bullshit.
Oh,
I
you
went
were
right
so
to the
full of
doorway. I was like, "Get under the doorway, Martha. Timmy, come
Are
in.
you?
Alan, come
Oh.
in." Listen, I was cool, calm, and collected
You were
under
not.
pressure.
You looked like you were gonna.
Andy was
you were gonna-
basically out the door
pee in your
before anyone
Yeah,
pants.
knew.
except for that big wet spot.
I
That you
Yeah.
had.
I only saw your ass leaving the door.
Jim's
I
face
was there.
like this.
Everybody come under. I was like the shepherd.
All right,
Come
here's
to me, little lambs.
here's what I
Get
remember.
safe.
There was a meeting going on in our office over on the other side of the room from where our chairs are, and
There were
I
about
looked
a dozen people
over,
at it.
and Shannon, one of our student aides, was here, and we were actually talking, and I was working on some technology, and the first rumbling started, and I looked at her and looked up at, like, are there roofers? Because
what I thought, too.
oftentimes they drop stuff and the building shakes, and it kept going, and then it got more and more intense, and I saw everybody over here at exactly the same time all stand up, and then they looked at each other, and then the real heavy rumbling started,
Yep.
and we all went out the door, and we
Well,
all
not all of us.
Not all of us.
Well, you-
I went to the doorway, and
No,
Jim,
I went to the doorway.
weeping like a little girl,
You
I
know,
said
you
to him,
and
I said
Timmy-
to him,
Actually-
come, Jim, stand in the doorway. All will be fine.
That's the other way around. And you and Timmy, as soon as it stopped,
And Tim
lit out for
No,
the
Tim-
territory, and I was checking for bodies.
Well, I see people see people heading for the door, so I'm thinking like tornado drill. We're going to the hallway.
He ran right through the door.
I went through the door into the hallway.
We had
and
to pull
Martha's
him
like,
back.
Get back in here.
Yeah.
So
and then I wouldn't let them leave because I
would not spend time in a foxhole.
showed
with these
true
two.
leadership until the rumbling stopped. I know from watching many Lifetime movies. You wait until the building stops shaking and then you
I'm an
exit.
internet
right.
expert. Don't worry.
It was. I've also seen this on a soap opera or two.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of the internet, that was the other cool thing is that
Yeah.
we got outside and we all started checking our devices and trying to call, and calls wouldn't get out. But eventually, I got the data coming through, and the Twitter stream started, and everything, of course, is lighting up with earthquakes. And then I saw people in New York City, people in Boston saying, "Hey, we just had an earthquake." And it's like, yeah,
That's right.
we pretty much knew it by the time we got outside, and it
Yeah.
was confirmed.
Well,
But
yeah.
the other
We knew
weird
the
thing, though,
magnitude.
there was no sirens and there was
No.
no emergency
There was
systems
nothing.
going off.
Like you
There
would
was
have.
no transformers popping, because that's what happened in L.A.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
transformers would pop.
There was not. That's why when I went out, I didn't believe it was an earthquake. Like nobody had come out of
Yeah.
their houses. The
Yeah.
mail woman. The
Yeah.
mail woman was
Yeah.
just kept
Moving along.
delivering mail.
Traffic was going as usual.
Yeah, there was not a single siren. This new system we have
Didn't
Well,
work.
yeah.
Nothing.
There was,
Nothing.
there was,
No
one,
al-
there
no
was one
alert.
person out there already, and she said, "I don't think it was an earthquake
Yeah.
because there's nothing out here. I can't feel anything." And so we, for a while, wondered
thought maybe
whether
there'd
or
been
not
an explosion
there
in
was
the
a problem
steam
with
tunnel.
our
That's right.
building or the buildings
Right.
surrounding us.
I
that
always
it was
think there's
just with
something
us.
going on up at Quantico, like some major.
Well, yeah,
Well, that's
yeah,
the other
'cause
thing. we're always
and
having-
then,
We
Like-
hear mortar
Yeah.
range stuff going on
and
too
like,
from here.
You know,
so.
someone hit it
Right.
hardcore.
Yeah, exactly.
They forgot that was a
I
a big
thought
button you weren't supposed to
that
touch.
maybe Godzilla
Sure.
That could have been it too,
was
man.
walking along Sunken Road
Yeah.
and had
Absolutely.
caused.
So we didn't
some-
hear the screaming, that
Well,
Godzilla does. So
this is
I
true,
kind
yeah.
of ruled that out right away.
I'm serious.
Might
That
pay
it
you the
did
big
feel
bucks.
like that. The whole Godzilla thing.
It was
Yeah.
freaky deaky.
Well, that's
I
what
thought the world was ending.
Yeah.
I kind of
was
I
crazy.
visualized, but it wasn't actually happening. But I felt like the building was crumbling,
Yes.
and that's what the building shaking felt like. And of course, this is an all brick building with concrete all over the place.
That's right.
And we've
with
had-
no give.
We've had now
Yeah.
4 aftershocks,
Yep.
including a fairly strong one
haven't
about 8
felt a
o'clock
single
8
last
one.
o'clock.
night.
I felt that one.
Yeah, I felt the
hardcore.
one. I was
Yeah.
sitting watching movies with my son, and I said I didn't look at him because I didn't want to scare him anymore. But I went upstairs and I asked my wife.
You didn't look at him.
Did you
You're
feel
just
it?
like,
Well, no, I was looking at him.
"Excuse
Whether
me, Aiden."
no,
Like
I
what
looked at
happened
him.
here, you ran
no, I
out.
did. Because he'd been talking about it. I didn't want him to worry about another earthquake coming. I looked at him and he was fine.
Sorry,
I said,
son,
Aiden, I'll be
just
right
passed
back.
gas.
I actually face palmed him going for the door.
I said, I'm
need to
getting out of
excuse
here.
myself. I made a mess.
And he walked out the front door, got in my car, and drove
With
away.
the 50-inch plasma.
Well, we do have priorities.
I was actually.
That's awesome.
Oh my
Speaking of
god.
priorities, I was very upset that I didn't come back in and get my laptop before I left for the day. And my wife was like, "Really, really?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I didn't have any problem coming in.
I do think that it is possible, it's worth mentioning, that the meeting that we were having
Yeah.
was to discuss rubrics
There's theories
for online
out
learning.
there.
So it is possible that we brought this
We're sorry.
Yeah.
upon
Well,
the East Coast.
I think the
This
amazing
was-
work we've been doing here at DTLT, there's a reason why we're on this fault line right,
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're affecting the forces of nature.
now. Yeah.
Actually, the fault line is very, very, very old, but maybe we reopened
I
it.
have a
Is that
very-
what you're is that what you're
I have
saying?
a very old soul.
Sort of-
Yeah,
it's sort of
exactly.
like
It's like
unlocking
the
the
it's
secret
like the
key.
Overlook
It's
Hotel. We've
Yeah.
always been the
That's right.
caretakers of that fault line.
Yeah. You only remember this lifetime,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
you've always been a part of this.
Yeah,
That's right.
you've
And-
always been the
and it-
troll.
You've always been the.
And the spirit will
Mr.
continue
Torrance.
when DuPont falls around us.
But
Yeah,
let's get back to
Thought it
like
was.
the actual, potential heroes of DTLT during it. Like,
No.
what are you
Let's
talking
not.
about?
You're gonna get a medal. You were,
Well,
you were,
I
you were
think-
weeping under the table. I had to
I think
pull
we need
you
to
out
talk about like those whose like performance was
above and
so,
beyond.
yes, stood
we're
out.
gonna award you a bleeding heart for.
Yeah, right.
No, that's not what I'm talking about, Tim. As you were running down the hall, and I could only see like the streak of your
Yeah.
purple shirt.
As soon
This
as
is
I
true.
could
I don't think I-
Martha
looking for
that we could
bodies.
leave
Was
the
he wearing
building,
purple
we were
yesterday?
gone.
I really don't think
Wait a
I've
minute.
I don't
ever
think
run
he
so
was.
fast.
Yeah.
I was not, because you know what? Even if there was a mouse left in the building, I was going to take the mouse out. It didn't matter.
You were you were seeking.
I want look.
Victims.
I would know. I was looking for. Who knows?
Yeah.
So when did people
You know,
feel it?
sometimes we hear a baby in that room over there.
Speaking of the Overlook,
Who knows?
there's never been a baby over there, Jim.
I don't remember
There ain't
exactly.
nothing in room 237.
That's
So stay out.
I don't remember exactly when the shaking stopped because
How long do you think it shook for?
it was probably about 20 seconds.
Yeah,
I
would say it was. It was.
Long.
because it
was
started
20
out
seconds.
slow and it got this real crescendo and man, the building just shook like crazy.
Did
at
you
that
feel
last
like
part.
there was a lot of noise associated
Oh
with
yeah.
shaking?
Oh,
'Cause
absolutely.
I feel like it was totally silent.
I think people were silent, but
Yeah.
I don't know what heroic gestures you were making with Jim and talking to
Well,
him about
I thought I.
that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
but we went out into the hallway, and as soon as we got to the hallway, the alarm went off,
Right.
and I was like,
That
How
was
did the
loud.
alarm go
Another
off?
thing-
Did
well,
it
that's
detect
that's
that the
what-
building was shaking?
yeah, that's what I'm not
That was
Yeah, that
odd.
was
really sure
very
about. Or
weird.
whether
Yeah.
I don't think anybody pulled it.
No, I don't think so.
But that's
either.
when
Could be
that's when I
activated by
stopped the.
dispatch.
I didn't feel like we were shaking anymore, but we could have been, or it could have tailed off. At
Well,
that
and I
point.
was saying to Andy that even once the shaking stopped, I felt like I don't know. It was almost like you get off a boat and you feel like you're still in the
weak
boat.
knees. And we
Yeah,
were
I didn't
looking
have
a
that.
weird
I didn't have
effect.
that feeling. And I told Aiden the story about when we had a earthquake in Syracuse back in the '80s, and I was sleeping in bed, and this was in the Adirondacks that the epicenter was, and I fell out of bed, and that's the only other kind of previous experience I had with a
But to be
earthquake
fair,
event.
you regularly fell out of bed.
But
as
I
a
always
child.
fall out of sleep. I always fall out of bed. So,
Ongoing
So-
problem.
it's,
Yeah.
it's not entirely clear if it was the earthquake.
and then there was one here in 2003,
Yeah.
and I was in Jepson, and I remember talking to people and saying, "Did you feel that?" And that was like a 4.5, I think.
Yeah.
Is that right?
But it's
So-
amazing the
Wow.
because we had one about a year ago that
Oh,
was in the
gee.
middle of the night that I was awake for, and it just sounded like a train, like
Yeah.
there was a sound and there was a little bit of shaking associated with it, but this
Yeah.
was
That's
like
Well, it
trippy,
used to
like
be-
the sound. Like, where
Yeah.
does the sound come from? Because
Yeah.
it's not just the building.
yeah,
There was
it's
like a
in
rumble.
the ground.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
and
Well, and
feel
you were
that
saying
whole
your
thing.
wife was at on a parking lot and she could
Saw
actually see the ripples.
Yeah, so her and
That's
my
freaky.
kids were in a parking lot going to get to a doctor's appointment to get Miles's swimmer's ear checked out because he's a very good swimmer. I don't know if you know that, but anyway,
He's a champion. He's a
Yeah,
winner.
he's actually
He's a win-
Miles
he's
winning.
winning.
Drew. Winning.
He's
I'm
He's a
winning.
big deal in certain circles.
Yeah, he's kind of a big deal.
In
in the
certain
pool.
swim team circles.
local recreation.
Kind of a big deal. in,
6-year-olds.
The fear of the flying fish.
So they knew who he was as soon as you walked in the hospital.
Of course.
Okay.
And so he
Miles,
saw the
it's
waves and he
Miles.
started swimming in the concrete. Started riding the concrete into the doctor's office.
Wow, he should get
No,
that
but
checked
seriously,
out.
it was
talking
wavy.
about?
Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was wavy, and she was freaked.
And then we did have some fallout in the city. There was 2 major gas leaks in downtown Fredericksburg.
Well, there was and also some
Really?
chimneys fell too.
And some chimneys
There was some
fell.
bricks on the sidewalk.
But the
that-
gas leaks were what Shannon was at our house last night. I didn't want to let her go home because it was about 2 blocks from our house.
Right.
And I thought we were going to have Shan kebabs. She went home, and I didn't want that to happen.
Red-headed
Really?
kebabs.
Shan kebabs. I thought that would be sad, but
You
in the
seemed
end,
broken up about it.
I was very, very adamant that she couldn't leave. But in the end, I let her because she thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
And they did fix the gas leaks at 3:30 this morning. But at one point, they were saying massive gas leaks leaking into the sewer system,
Yeah.
which is never good.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
not good.
Oh, wow.
So, and they evacuated like a 6-block radius, I think, around
Yeah, several
Prince
of
Edward.
the restaurants
Is that
are
right?
down in that
Yeah.
area. They evacuated like
Yeah.
Castilia's and
William
not
Street
know
was
that.
closed.
was Hyperion was one of them.
Yes.
Everybody's favorite coffee shop. so.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was a big deal.
Hmm.
But no. And now we're just hoping that it never, ever, ever happens.
It will.
Well, I guess another 100 years.
Well,
We'll see.
No,
I
I,
will-
think it's coming quicker.
if it happens again, Jim, I will be here to save you
Why do
again.
you say that?
The earthquakes and the
This,
sharks.
no, look, this isn't like, oh, okay. History tells us every 100 years.
You
Right.
think this is the beginning of the end?
No, this is a sign.
A sign of what?
A sign that, we're not on the righteous path.
Right.
We should stop talking about rubrics.
Yes. And, we should stop with our
Oh, I
kind of
see.
our heads in the sand about what's happening in our world and our culture right now.
And underground.
Politics is shit, right?
Global warming.
We got the rich getting richer,
Yeah.
the poor getting poorer,
Yeah.
right? This is the gods of the working class raising up from the ground all the dead and basically saying, take back your country.
Make it right.
Take back the wages. And if we don't, and it only gets worse in the next years, well, you
We'll
know
have
what?
another earthquake.
The earthquake's going to get worse, and it's not going to be a 5.9. It's going to be a 6.9.
Okay.
And,
And worse.
yeah,
Yeah.
I believe that.
Okay.
And on that note,
Thanks for joining us.
thank you for joining us.
We feel better.
We
Take
hope
care.
you do too.
Take care.
Thank you.